When it comes to sharing our gifts in the world, when it comes to doing what we love, our passion, of doing good, of starting particular new pursuits, not the traditional, but really following what your heart wants you to do and so on, there's something that tends to happen. The number one thing actually that tends to stop people from going in that direction, from continuing, is that we have an assumption, a heart or more like belly felt assumption of there is no space for our gifts in the world. There is no desire, there is no need. We or these gifts, this beauty is not wanted in the world. There is no space for it. The market is already overfilled. I'm not good enough for these gifts, they don't get at the level of other gifts, other people's gifts. We have that assumption. I mean, maybe you don't know that is an assumption, but that's an assumption that you're having. And why I say assumption rather than a fact is because we can assume that it's a fact. For example, just being like, no, look at the statistics. It's a very competitive market. But the fact is, you have no idea, even in the most competitive markets, there is people offering these gifts, and you have no idea. Like, there is no way to prove it more than actually proving it, trying it out. So what I'm gonna do right now, and I'm gonna invite you to do with me, is this assumption that we have is quite a core one. It's assuming that there's no space for gifts, therefore I crash into fear or into I'm just not gonna do this, and you end up not doing what you love. And it's super important because it's what you love. It's really one of those things that can change your life. It's really one of those things that if you're doing your passion, what your passion is, if you're doing that in your life, you're gonna be just happier, independent of everything else. You're just gonna be so much happier, and it's gonna do so much good to the world. Because people doing what they love is the best thing, like the best service they could be doing. Not only in the fact that they are providing a service, but also just in the fact that they're happier people, and doing what they love means just irradiating so much good around them, so much well-being and so on. So let's work with it. There's a way that we can actually play with this assumption in such a way that maybe you completely flip it around. And what's on the other side of this is, well, we'll see in a second. So we have this assumption, right? And I invite you to find your own way of phrasing this assumption, or finding what the assumption is for you. Are my gifts wanted in the world? Is there space for my gifts? Is there space for what I really want to do? Is there space for me, for my heart? And by the way, this is an exercise that can be done also for other things, Is there space for me to find a life partner, for example, or find a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Is there space for that? It's a similar assumption. We can assume, there's no one that fits me. But in this case, I'm just going to continue with the example of my gift, but this can be used for other things. Is there space for my gifts? And just notice the answer. Is there space for my gifts in the world? And then when you notice an answer, it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it right now. Am I open for it to change? Am I open for this assumption? Am I open to the possibility that I might be surprised? Am I open to the possibility that my gifts might actually really be wanted? Am I open? And as soon as I do this, I notice well, I don't know, first of all. I guess I need to see it. But I also when I open up a little bit to the possibility, I notice that's a cool possibility, It feels kind of like the possibility of my gifts actually being wanted in the world, like being of service and people really enjoying them. That's a hell of a nice world. And I invite you to continue playing with this and continue going in that direction. Like, what if there is space for me in the world? And how does that feel like in your body? How does that feel like in your life? In this moment, I notice my belly, it's like getting a little bit energized. You can see for your own whatever happens. But I get a little bit energized. It's like, that'd be cool, And the awesome thing is, it's not only like energetic play, like something woo-woo, spiritual, just like fooling ourselves. It's actually a very practical tool because I can. We're always assuming things. It's a temporary judgment that we're doing. So it's like, what if I hold this possibility, this assumption of like maybe my gifts are really wanted in the world. What happens then is you move through the world being like, I think my gifts are wanted in the world. So you actually share them, or at least start to share them, uh, in such a way that you will find out. You will find out. And there might be little bumps like, oh, this person doesn't like it, or I tried this and it didn't work. But there's a golden thread, like my gifts are wanted, and I'm gonna figure out the way, and I'm gonna figure out the style, and I'm gonna figure out the people, the audience, whatever it is. But you continue walking in that direction. So this assumption change gets you moving forward and gets your gifts being shared. Sooner or later, gets your gifts being properly received, and that brings the joy of a lifetime. That just brings the joy of a lifetime. I'm personally recording this video because I've been playing with this recently, and I'm only now starting to see like, holy moly, it might be that my gifts are actually wanted in the world. And I just noticed so much joy, so much excitement of the possibility. So it just makes me want to keep going, So that's what I wish for you, and I invite you to continue playing. There's nuances to this assumption, I'm making it simple, I'm making it fast, but play with this assumption. What if your gifts are really wanted in the world, and what are you assuming around it, And you can just like go assumption by assumption and check like, or open the possibility of for each one. And I mean, honestly, it's a constant work. It's a constant practice because it's an assumption that is so core to us doing what we love that many assumptions will continue to come up. And we just gotta continue working with them and continue being like, my gifts are wanted in the world, and continue testing, like being scientific also about it. Depending on your personality, this might also help. Thank you very much. I mean, I would be very curious to hear in the comments how this is for you, if this makes sense, if this works for you, what assumptions you're checking. And I hope it's useful. I'll see you in the next one.